so far? You're prepared for a long night, I hope, right? Some of you are looking a little long in the tooth already. I'm just getting started. So we had a radio station in town, WBUX, 5,000 watts. That probably doesn't mean anything to you, but when I then debuted on WWDB years later, it was 50,000 watts. 5,000 watts meant it was literally transmitting from a cow pasture on the edge of town from 4 rusting transmitted towers. It's still there. Easy listening and high school sports. There's a real heavy-set broadcaster named Roger Conduit, and if he would say your name, broadcasting like a local sporting event, that was a big deal to get mentioned on WBUX. So in the late 60s, I don't remember exactly how, but the kids on our block got recruited for a commercial that was supposed to run on WBUX for a local pool company. Somebody asked me about Sylvan Pools earlier tonight. It was for Sylvan Pools. So I would have been about 8 or 9 years old, and we all then went to a small recording studio in Doylestown. Now, the chief of police was named Kenneth Tutt, and Chief Tutt's son, Scott Tutt, was the town hippie. And the funny thing is he owned a store called DB Platypus. I don't know what that represents. And then he owned a record store where I bought my first lighter, as a matter of fact. And what I remember about Scott Tutt is that he left town and became a very successful record producer for the group Alabama. But back in the day, he had a tiny recording studio, and that's where we went to record the Sylvan Pools jingle, which I have committed to memory. And it's funny because my memory is horrible, but I remember it. Would you like to hear it? Yes. Before you take the plunge, be sure you talk to Sylvan. Before you take the plunge, be sure you get the facts. Family engineered for fun and recreation. Sylvan has the pool to keep you all relaxed. Second verse. Take your vacation right outside your home. It's so easy. Just pick up the phone, and before you take the plunge, be sure you... So we did this jingle. Thank you. I'm here all week at Parks Casino. I've always wanted to say that. Now, the funny thing is that one of the kids on the block was Mike Stockel Jr., and we're still friendly to this day. And at the end of our street, his parents owned Mountain Lake Pool and Patio, and they had this wonderful attitude. They would hire every kid on our blocks who wanted to work. So when I was in high school, having just turned 16, my job was to drive a panel van delivering patio furniture and pool supplies to their customers. And one day, Larry Kane called. And Larry Kane was then the dean of the Philadelphia Anchors, and he needed a bucket of chlorine delivered to his house in Rydal. Yeah. Huntington Valley? Okay. So Mr. Stockel, Mike's father, produces a 3x5 card in a pre-Waze, pre-GPS era, and it has Larry Kane's address and what he needed, like pH riser and chlorine, some such thing. And off we go to Larry Kane's house, only also we were carrying one of those Instamatic cameras. Do you remember the type that you'd push the button and it would spit it out, and then you'd have to shake it? Okay. So, Polaroid. So we get to Larry Kane's house, and a woman working in a domestic capacity answers the door. And she says, oh, just put the chlorine out back in the shed. And we're like, no. We have a bill of lading. To this day, I don't know what a bill of lading is, but we said a bill of lading has... So before you know it, here comes Larry Kane, hair disheveled, no shirt. I have pictures that I can show of this. Fly down on his shorts. And before he knows what happened, the two punks from Doylestown have each passed the camera and taken their picture with him. Fast forward from that about 5-6 years, and now I have political experiences, and I am invited by whom? Larry Kane, who has no idea about the chlorine story, to provide election night commentary. And it was the beginning of a friendship that continues to this day. He's 82, and he still calls me often on Saturdays and gives me notes about my CNN program.